Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Overflow Method Podcast. I'm going to grab this mic since I'm done. What the heck? There you go. Since I'm done lighting that candle. Candle was significant today. These roses are with us today. Where's the camera? Okay, sorry, the lens. That's where I need to look. I've been noticing on YouTube videos when people film with their phones, because the lens is kind of hidden, I find it annoying to watch videos where people aren't looking at straight into the lens. And it's harder to do so when you're filming on your phone because it's hidden, like I said. So I've been seeing all these people making YouTube videos, but they're not looking at the camera, and it's like a slight annoyance to me. So I really need to make sure that I'm doing it. I'm going to shift this over a little bit just for the framing. But welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Overflow Method Podcast. If you are listening to this in audio only, that intro probably made it pretty obvious to you that there is a video version of this podcast available on my YouTube channel, Golden Age Streams. Just search up the exact same title as this podcast episode, and you should be able to find it under my channel, Golden Age Streams, on there. But yes, today we are talking about capacity. Capacity is, we're just getting right into it today. There's no other fluff. Okay. So capacity is how much energy we are able to hold in our bodies. So the Overflow Method Podcast is directly solving the problem of burnout as we build out our dream lives and our dream businesses, as we engage our creator potential in the physical world. What I mean by that, in other words, is when we actually decide to start moving through the process of taking what's inside of us, inside of our minds, inside of our hearts, and bringing that out into the world, into the material world specifically, we have to consider that there is something called capacity. Each one of us has a different level of capacity. And this capacity that we have is, like I said, the amount of energy that we're able to hold in our bodies. And the reason why this is significant to the creation or to the manifestation process is because if we try to engage too much energy, if we do something or call something in that is beyond our current level of capacity, we won't be able to hold it, and therefore we will feel burnt out. So the Overflow Method is like capacity is a core concept within the Overflow Method framework, because it is basically how you measure how close you are to burnout. So if you think about all of your past experiences where you have felt burnt out, consider what your life looked like at the time, what your workload looked like, what level of expectations you had set on yourself, and notice how that was beyond your level of capacity at the time. Even if you were able to follow through and do what you wanted to do for a little while, eventually you burnt out because you literally surpassed your capacity. So capacity, each one of us, like I said, has a different level of capacity. So this is why it's also super important not to compare yourself to others, because everyone that you see has a different level of capacity. For lack of a better word, I feel like I've said capacity 20 million times in this past 2 minutes, but it is what it is. This is what the episode's about. So I guess you really need to drill in that word in your head, drill in the concept. Every single person that you see has a different level of capacity. They have a different level of ability to hold energy. And let's define what energy is. So energy is literally everything, right? So it's quite hard to define energy without defining it within a context. So within the context of entrepreneurship and the context of creation process and us building out our dream lives and our dream businesses, energy can be the amount of money that you're open to receiving and holding. It could be the amount of discomfort you can hold, because like as we take steps forward on our mission, on our path, we confront different levels of discomfort, because like part of the expansion process is experiencing discomfort, because literally it's like the definition of expansion is doing something that goes beyond your comfort zone. And within the conversation about capacity, we have to know how to stretch our comfort zone, but not overstretch. Because if we overstretch, we're going beyond our capacity and we're going to burn out. So we have to be super mindful about where we are right now and what it is we can handle right now. So in the context of money, right? Or even in the context of followers or audience or community members, the more that there is, the more energy that you have to process. Okay, so think about people or audience members or community members that are watching your work, that are engaging with your work. If you have one person that is watching, commenting, messaging, etc., you only have that one person's comments, messages, words, perceptions to process, right? When they comment something, you can read it and then you process it and then you're good. So now add another person and then add 10 more people and then add 100 people. So can you see how more is more? Can you see how the more people that enter your field and watch you and comment and engage with you, the more energy you have to process? You obviously don't have to read every comment or anything, but it is still there, right? Like if you have a video with thousands and thousands of views and like hundreds of comments, even if you don't read all 100, it's still there for you to access. And it's ultimately, you have to have the ability to understand how to process things efficiently, comments, energy efficiently, so that you don't burn out. So basically that's also like, this is also kind of related to that, I don't know what it's called, but those quotes that are just said so often that they're almost like cliche, but that quote where it's like, it's kind of a religious quote, but also if you're spiritual, you've probably resonated with it, and you can sub out the word God for any other universe, whatever resonates with you, because I know so many of us are healing from religious trauma, but I am going to use the word God. In this quote, it's like, God will only give you what you're capable of handling. So this is literally like, you won't get the audience members, you won't get the level of money, because money too, right? Let's just talk about that example. So money, hypothetically in our mind, we're just like, yeah, like if we have like $1 million in our bank account, like that's so amazing, that's going to feel so good, but more is more. And so when you actually have that money in your bank account, you might start experiencing the stresses of, am I managing this properly? Because it's like money also, like the responsibility, the sense of responsibility that you feel when you have like $10 in your bank account versus when you have $1 million in your bank account, it's different, right? When you have $10, it doesn't require that much personal power and responsibility and like awareness and consciousness in order to manage $10, right? Because the effects of mismanagement or whatever aren't as, it's like you're already at the bottom, so like how much worse can it get? But if you have $1 million, or now think of billionaires with billions of dollars, think about how much impact each one of their actions takes. Okay, so if they decide to spend money on, like spend $20 million on something, that $20 million being moved is going to have a greater impact on the world than someone who's just moving around like $200. You know what I'm trying to say here? So we basically have to build up our capacity to hold bigger levels of money. Because mentally, it's like if you're not very grounded in the physical world, if you're not fully in your body, you can convince yourself that you can handle $1 million coming in tomorrow. But when you actually ground into your body and actually think about what that would actually look like in your day-to-day, how you would actually start to feel in the day-to-day. This can also relate to, that lottery curse, when people win the lottery and then their life kind of just like derails. It's because there's too much energy that entered into their world. And in this context, the energy was money. It was too much that entered into their world, and they didn't have the capacity to handle it. So what do I mean when I say, do you have the capacity to handle it? It's like, do you have the capacity to manage it? Do you have the capacity to hold it? When you have $1 billion, are you able to hold the responsibility and feel okay about how much power your choices make or how much power you have in the world, like how much your individual choices influence the world, right? Because let's talk about audience as well, okay? And like community members and people watching your videos if you make videos. If you say something, right? If I'm sharing a thought with you or a belief that I have or a perspective that I have, if 100 people watch it, it's like that, those 100 people will hear it and some of them will implement it or some of them won't. And it's like, you won't really see it reflect in your world that much. But then when you have a lot of influence, so think of big celebrities or even think about like the politicians, right? How much influence they have over people's minds and people's perspectives of reality and perceptions. And so when you have a lot of influence and you share a thought with the world or you share your perspective, it has incredible effects on the world. So if you share something and your idea is like really great within certain contexts, and like from your perspective, it's a really great perspective to hold, it's really great. But then when that concept lands in like the minds of millions of people, because of like how this reality is, like some people are going to implement that perspective in a positive way and create good things with it, put out good energy with it. And some people are going to potentially implement that same perspective in a negative way. So let's just take the example of like that concept of you create your own reality, okay? I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I'm sure you've heard about that. If you take that perspective that you create your own reality and you implement it in a positive way in your life, you're basically going to understand that what it means when someone says you create your own reality is that you hold a level of responsibility over your life and that you have the ability to change things. Even in circumstances where it feels out of control, you know at your core that with enough time and persistence and efforts, you can change the way that your reality looks. Ultimately, it's up to you to make certain choices and to not repeat certain patterns. And when you pattern interrupt yourself and like interrupt all these like long standing cycles, you start making different decisions, and therefore the choices that you make for your life start to shift, and then therefore your external reality shifts. So it's a very empowering perspective. For me, it's been something that has literally like been the thing that has pulled me out of the depths of victimhood and despair and hopelessness. And it's like over the years pulled me out to where I am right now, where I feel like, obviously I understand that there's a lot of things that I can't control in the immediate moment, but there is so much that is within my control. And as long as I do my best to act upon the control and the power that I already have, the more that my sense of power and control over my own life will grow, and the more I will feel like the captain of my own ship or like the leader of my life. So now if you take that same idea and perspective, which is you create your own reality, and you apply it in a negative way, you can end up blaming people for the bad things that happen to them, or like not really understanding trauma properly. And like kind of, if someone comes to you and is going through a hard time, instead of helping, like sitting with what is coming up for them at that time, you might say things that kind of bypass the experience that they're having in the moment. You might invalidate their feelings and their experience by saying something like, oh, like, don't worry, like, you create your own reality, like, this, you must have done something to bring this upon yourself. Or like, there's different ways The same perspective can be applied in both positive ways that uplift yourself and uplift others around you. And the same perspective can be taken to invalidate others and to create more like negative effects in your immediate communities and surroundings. So now going back to the concept of if you have a huge audience and you have millions of people listening to you and you're talking about creating your own reality, you're going to have some people that take that and apply it in the positive way and really change their life with that perspective and really are able to pull themselves out of victimhood consciousness and pull themselves out into a life where they are moving with a sense of responsibility and they're not blaming others anymore and they're not blaming the circumstances as much. They're not like sitting in this like place of despair where nothing is in their control and they're just a victim of other people and other people's actions and society and companies and corporations, whatever. For some people, your words will be able to lift them out into a place of hopefulness and self-responsibility and personal power. Then on the same side, some people might feel extremely invalidated by what you just said, and they might feel like you don't understand anything about life. You don't understand anything about their life. And they might actually end up spiraling deeper because even if they do apply that and they're like, oh my God, I brought this upon myself. I brought this trauma upon myself. Like, what the heck? Like, what did I, like, you can get into a really dark and like obsessive mental space with that same concept, right? Like, if I'm creating my own reality, you might get super, like ultra aware to the point where every single move that you make stresses you out because you're so worried that you might make the wrong move and like bring harm upon yourself because you're creating your own reality. So that's what I mean. So when you have a larger audience, it's like, are you able to be okay with that? The more people that you bring into your world, are you able to hold responsibility for that? Like when you share your perspectives, it's going to cause an impact. And when it causes an impact, it's going to have a positive impact in the way that you intended for a lot of people, but it might also have a negative impact in a way that you really did not intend. And are you able to hold both of those realities? So if you are someone who like that freaks you out completely and you like don't want to cause any harm upon others, that means your capacity is not at the level it needs to be in order to have that many people watching you. And this moves me into my next topic of this episode that I had planned. Capacity goes in both ways because we live in a universe of polarity, or our reality is one of duality. There's like the good side and the bad side, the light side and the dark side. And when we build our capacity, when we, for example, want more money or want more pleasure in our life or want more good things in our life, we wish that we could just expand our capacity in one direction. And so it's like, okay, like I have $1 million now. I'm just going to go with that example because it's easy now. It's like, well, I have like $1 million now. Now it's like, I never have to, it's like I can just keep growing in this direction, growing my capacity in this direction. And like, I don't have to worry about like negatives, but that's not how things work. In order to grow in the positive direction, you also have to grow in the negative direction. What I mean is that the more pleasure that you're able to handle, you have to be able to handle discomfort at that level of extreme as well. So that's what I was saying with the money example or the audience example. If you have 1 million followers, you have to be able to hold the discomfort that reflects that amount of people listening to you, and that discomfort can include things like your words or your actions making an impact in a way that you really didn't want it to, and can you hold that level of responsibility and discomfort that comes along with that. So when we build our capacity and we train ourselves to hold more, obviously we are training ourselves because we desire to hold more of the good stuff. But we also have to do the shadow work on the other side and be able to be okay and accepting and able to process and handle any potential bad stuff that can come at that level as well. So this is why it's so hard for us sometimes to like stretch our ability to receive more good stuff or receive more energy, receive more people in our community, receive more clients, receive more money, receive more pleasure, all these things. Like it's not because it's not that we're afraid of the pleasure, or that we're afraid of the money, or we're afraid of all this good stuff. It's that we subconsciously understand that with the good stuff, we also have to stretch our capacity to hold any of the opposite of that, or like the negative polarity of that. And that is what is we need to work on. I can hold more when I'm able to hold more discomfort. Okay, and that's been a really difficult thing for me to accept. And yesterday's Overflow Method coaching program call was all about the role of discomfort in our expansion journeys. Because what I realized was that there was some deep core part of me that could not accept that discomfort was a part of this reality. I was just like, no, like, I don't want to accept that. Like, no, like, I just want everything to feel good all the time, because that's what I'm aiming for, right? Golden age streams, golden age realities, like fulfillment, and I'm focusing on the good. And I'm learning, like, yes, like, that is a possible thing. It is so possible for us to create heaven on earth in our daily experience. It is so possible for us to create our dream lives. But the pathway to doing that involves discomfort. And discomfort comes up because discomfort it's like one of the sources of our desires, okay? And this is something that I had to take some time to really accept and understand. What is the motivation for us to want the things that we want, to desire the things that we want to desire? So let's talk about money again, okay? When we have experienced not having enough money, it is the discomfort of that motivates us, or that creates the desire for us to want more money, to do things to want more money. It's like the discomfort is directly related to the desire. We want to change something. There's something in our reality that we're experiencing that is causing us some sort of discomfort. I mean, it could be severe discomfort, it could even be mild discomfort. When you're hungry, why do you reach for food? Why do you eat? Because it's uncomfortable to be hungry. It's the discomfort that births the desire to eat food. When we understand this, we begin seeing that discomfort is a part of the expansion process. It's a part of our journey. It's like our friend. It's helping us. It's helping us get to the places that we want to get to. Without discomfort, we wouldn't get there. Because think about yourself in different parts of your life, or other people that you see who are just so complacent with the way that their world looks. And when you're looking from the outside in, you're just like, you deserve so much better than this, right? But this is kind of like the shadow side of spirituality and like acceptance as well. If you accept too much and you just kind of get into this state of mind where you're just like, no, I'm just gonna like focus on gratitude and acceptance, and that's it. I'm just gonna force myself to just be okay with my surroundings as they are. That is actually a shadow manifestation of the concept of acceptance and gratitude, because we're here to expand, we're here to grow, we're here to experience, we're here to learn. And when we get too complacent with what our lives look like, and we're just like, oh, I'm just gonna accept it, whatever, because I don't want to do the work, I don't want to face the discomfort of like growing, so I'm just gonna leave things as they are. Like, you can do that, and so many people do that, but you're just gonna end up living your whole life like that. And it's like you're gonna continuously push down the discomfort that you feel about your surroundings, or your living situations, or your relationships, or your friendships, or your job, or whatever. You're just gonna keep pushing it down because you don't want to deal with it. And you might even convince yourself and trick yourself into thinking this is actually the best thing ever, and that I shouldn't think about wanting more because I should just be I should just be grateful for what I have. And you can almost like gaslight yourself into complacency. And that's not what we're here for. We're here for expansion. We're here to achieve everything that you ever wanted to achieve. But in order to do that, you have to be okay with consciously inviting discomfort into your life. If you think about it, No matter what you're doing, you're always going to feel, there's no way for us to run from discomfort. We can ignore it, we can avoid it, we can pretend it's not there. And I've lived so many years like that, just kind of like pushing it down, being like, no, I'm totally fine with how everything is. This is amazing. And it's like, it is amazing. And I still want more. And there's still more for me to experience in this life. Desire is not a bad thing. Desire is the impulse that allows you to grow and to experience and to have the dream life that you've always wanted. Because you can't fool yourself. Like, as much as you gaslight yourself into thinking that you're so perfectly happy with how everything is, at the core level of yourself, you know that that's untrue. And so there's discomfort in that too. So it's like, no matter what you do or where you go or what, you're going to have to feel discomfort. So with the expansion journey, with like building our dream lives and activating our creator identity, what we're essentially doing is we're consciously guiding the discomfort to work with us and for us. It's like we're working together with the discomfort. Like, discomfort's going to hang out no matter what. It's always going to be there in your life. That's just like kind of the nature of this reality. It's the nature of having a human body. And it's just, first of all, level one, like step one, accept that. The sooner you can accept that, the sooner you can move forward. And I have so much compassion because so hard for me to accept. I so badly wish that it could just be good feelings all the time, and that there was a possibility to only ever experience good feelings all the time. I'm having a real hard time accepting that. But I also understand, like, I need to accept that to move forward. That is the lack of acceptance, that discomfort is a part of the nature of this reality, at least at this time. That's what's blocking me from moving forward. So that's step one. Do that. And I know I lost the train of thought, but that's okay. Basically, just when you activate your creatorhood and you are like, I'm going to consciously create my life, I'm going to build my dream life, you're basically deciding to work with discomfort. So it's not just like in your life and just hanging around aimlessly doing what it wants. You're working with it so that it can help you get to where you want to be. And this is where, like, when you start going down a path, so for example with this podcast, obviously it comes from, let's trace this creation. Together. So the discomfort, which is a source of desire, like I was saying earlier, the discomfort that I was feeling was boredom, and this really felt sense that I'm meant for something more, that I'm wasting my potential. Like, there's things that I need to say and things that I need to share and ways that I need to be in the world. And by not doing the things that I know I want to be doing, I'm holding myself back and I'm wasting my potential. That discomfort of feeling like I'm wasting my potential is what birthed the desire for this podcast, amongst other things. Golden Age Streams is a brand and everything that's coming through with it. But specifically, we're talking about this podcast. So because I had that discomfort, I wanted to shift that discomfort. And that discomfort gave me the necessary pressure to connect to the desire that I have to launch a podcast called the Overflow Method Podcast. Okay, so then I connected to the desire, and that's a very good feeling time. You're like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm so excited about this. Like, you really start to feel the emotions of that desire, and like you get to feel into like where it's gonna take you, and like you get to connect to like your vision of like where you're heading. You get to connect with like where you're aiming. What destination you're going to get to if you bring this desire through. If I bring the podcast through. And then you build your emotions up and your excitement up and your vision up to a point where you have the motivation to start working on it. And then you hit resistance. And this resistance is like when you actually start to work on it. So like when I actually started to film the episodes, I'm like, oh, it actually is kind of uncomfortable to speak. It's kind of uncomfortable to have to show up every week. It's kind of uncomfortable to feel that feeling like, am I saying, like, is anything I'm saying making sense? It's kind of uncomfortable to be worried every week that I won't come up with a good enough topic, or it's kind of uncomfortable that I won't, like, it's just not going to be good enough in general, that I won't know what to title it, and then people won't like it, or people will think I'm weird. Like, all this, everything that's been holding us back from being the person that we want to be in our desired vision. So for this podcast, it's like imagining me as someone with millions of listeners, okay? And someone who my work is really impacting. And that's what I'm connecting to. That desire is what's giving me the motivation to pull me forward. But then I hit resistance, and it's like resistance equals discomfort. Like, it's like the consciously chosen discomfort that I was speaking about. This is the point where many of us quit. We're like, okay, well, I'm feeling discomfort, so that probably means that this isn't meant to be. In reality, this discomfort is exactly how it's meant to be. It's how it all works always. Every time you do a creation, you're eventually going to be met with resistance and discomfort, and that discomfort is there to initiate you into a different way of being. The reason that you don't already have the things that you desire, the reason why your life doesn't look the way you want it to look yet, is because your behaviors, your actions, you're playing out certain patterns and cycles in your life that are creating the current reality that's around you, that you see with your eyes and you feel with your senses. The only way to shift the outer reality is to start making decisions and choices and taking actions in your body, while like in the physical world, that reflect the new way of being, which is like the version you are in your vision. And so the discomfort comes up to show you where you are still not being that. So if I want to be a podcast host if I want to be someone with a podcast that has millions of listeners worldwide, and I can't show up every week, am I going to ever reach that reality? No. So in the discomfort of trying to show up every week and not being able to, that's showing me discomfort. My friend discomfort is showing me where I need to be working, what I need to be working on to get closer to that final vision where I am someone who can hold a weekly podcast episode. And I can move through the discomforts of all the self-doubt or whatever comes up. And like, obviously, and this is where we go back into this is where we get back into the conversation about capacity. Where we burn out is when we try to push ourselves too far into the final vision version of ourselves. I'm going to call it the level 10 self. Level 10 self is a version of you that has everything that you're aiming for. So, but it helps to think about that level 10 self within the context of certain goals. So the level 10 version of myself within the context of this podcast is someone that has millions of listeners, and there's a lot of people being impacted by my words and my work, and I really feel fulfilled, and like my words matter, and that I'm making a positive difference in the world. That's my level 10 self. When we have the desire come up to create something in the world, the reason that we have the desire is because of the discomfort of not having the thing, right? It's like we're not that version of us, and that brings us discomfort because, like, for me, felt like I was wasting my potential. So then we have the desire to make the podcast. We don't, at that level where the desire is birthed and we're like, okay, I really want to do this, we're not at our level 10 self. And if we were at our level 10 self, then this whole thing would never we wouldn't even have to go through any of the discomfort or desire or anything. We would just be there. So if you're at the beginning, if you just had the idea come through of what you want to bring through and you're at the beginning stages, you're not at the level 10 self. So your first job is to understand what level you are at. Okay, and this is what is reflecting your capacity level. What capacity do you have currently to hold the level of energy that your level 10 self is able to hold? What is my current capacity? How many listeners can I currently handle? It's like I have to understand, like, how often can I show up? If my level 10 self is posting a podcast video every week, and then is also doing the Substack, and is also doing clips, and is also doing like text posts on Instagram. And it's like there's all these things that I know that my level 10 self is doing to and she also has guests. It's like there's all these things that my level 10 self is doing, and I can feel into that because this is part of the visioning process. Like when you get the desire and you feel into your destination, you can really feel into what that destination looks like. And it often is like your level 10 self is doing things differently than what you're doing right now. And what are those things? So then it's like, okay, what level are you at currently? So this is actually a really great practice and exercise that I can guide you through right now. But before I like really go into it, it's like where you are now is your current capacity. It's what you can handle right now. It's the level of energy you can handle right now. This is why going from 0 followers to 1 million followers, or for going from like making $0 to making $1 million overnight, in quotes, you know what I mean, like in a very short time, can be unsustainable, because you have to allow yourself to train your capacity over time. And this also is super related to nervous system work. There's only so much that your nervous system can handle. There's only so much energy your nervous system can handle before it burns out, like we were talking about. So in order to train your capacity, you have to know where you are in the current moment, and you have to know where you're going, but you have to like work with yourself. And that involves like self-acceptance at a really, really, really deep level. When it comes to this podcast, as much as I wish that I was at the point where I could post the podcast every week and do like the blog posts and the text posts and then also the clips, as much as clips specifically, I really wish that I had the current capacity right now to create podcast clips for each of these episodes, because I have the format, I have the tools I need, but I just don't have the energy in my week to spend 3 hours in the week on a screen, at least in the moment that I'm speaking. But it's like I can film the video and like do all this stuff, but because there's other responsibilities in my life too, like my coaching program and just like my everyday life tasks and everything, I don't have that 3-hour energy. Like I don't have the capacity or the ability to also squeeze in a 3 to 4 hour work chunk in my week to create those clips and post them. Okay, and as much as I wish as I did, I'm just not there yet. And so once I come into a deep acceptance of that, like it's okay. It's okay that I'm not there yet. It's not my fault. It's not like something that's wrong with me. So this is also like what I was saying earlier about different people have different levels of capacity. Your initial capacity is built by your experiences in your life. And so especially if you're someone who has dealt with a lot of trauma through your life and you're in a healing mode, depending on like how extreme the trauma was, like your capacity is kind of being used up in the emotional processing of your healing work. And so it might be harder for you if you're really in the depths of the healing work, like I was 4 years ago. It could be like nearly impossible for you to post a podcast every week. So if you look at me and you're like, wow, Areege is so amazing, she can post a podcast every week. It's not that I'm better than you or amazing or like have something that you don't have. It's just that over the past few years, I've been training my capacity slowly. I've been processing through my emotions. I've been doing the healing work. I've been facing the discomfort of healing to get to the point where I am now. Literally like a year ago, I would not be able to handle recording and uploading an episode a week. And as much as I tried, it was like I would burn out every time because it was past my capacity. I had to build up. I had to train. And I have a video when I first started doing all my work again, after like a year and a half of a full break where all I did in my day, luckily like my life supported this and Garrett supported me through this, but all I did was I just rested, I stretched, I really like learned how to take care of myself. I learned how to like feed myself properly. Like I didn't worry about my work in the world. I didn't worry about the legacy layer in the overflow framework. Again, I focused on the health layer, and that's it, really, how I feel. Okay. And then when I felt the discomfort that I'm wasting my potential, like I was saying, that was around last summer. And then I was started building up. I was like, okay, I can't go to my level 10 self. My level 10 self in September was the version of me that I am now. And there's a YouTube video that I posted back in September, early October. I will leave the link. It's called It's Time to Leave Your Healing Cocoon. And I spoke in, like, that was me in that moment where I was looking at this version of myself, and this was my level 10 self to her. And I explained this whole process that I'm going to go through with you again today. I was like, I can't do everything that my level 10 self is doing. I can't show up. This was, again, in October, okay? Today, it's like end of April right now. Last October, I was like, I know I don't have the capacity to film a podcast every week. I don't have the capacity to film a video every week, to talk to people, to facilitate group calls, to do all this stuff that I really see myself doing. I really envision myself doing. I don't have the capacity. So what do I have the capacity for? And this is where I really practice the overflow method in my own life. And I was like, okay, let's start with layer 1, health. What do I have the capacity for in my health layer? I have to build up. And you'd see, even back then, it's like it was uncomfortable for me to make dinner. Okay? Like it was uncomfortable for me to commit to making sure all the dishes were done and the kitchen was clean at the end of the night. Because there was so many days where I would just be like, I'm too tired to reset the kitchen at night. And then I would wake up in the morning and I would just feel so horrible because it's like the energy of the previous night, because the kitchen was still dirty. It like passed on to the next day and I just didn't felt like the new day was a new start. And so back in like September, that's what my capacity training task was. I had to just commit all I could, like forget trying to commit to a freaking podcast episode a week. I didn't have the capacity to deal with the discomfort of that and everything that brought up for me, and all the self-doubt and all of the energy that brought up for me and awoke within me that I had to process. Forget that. I was having a hard time. It was stretchy for me to just commit to making sure that the kitchen is clean at the end of the night. Okay? Because that's like part of the health layer, because that was related to how I felt. Okay? It's also environment, but you know what I mean. Having a clean, reset kitchen helped me feel better in the morning, and it helped me feel fresh in the day so I could do more things. And then it was like, okay, now I really need to, and I've spoken about this in like my other episodes. And then I was like, okay, I need to feed myself regularly. That was hard for me. So that was like, how can I make more nourishing meals for dinner? How can I feed? I'm still working through the eating lunch thing. Like it's still hard for me. But what I'm trying to say here is that when I was in September and my desire to like really start doing work in the world again and sharing my gifts with the world, when that desire came through in September or October, I didn't have the capacity to implement it in the way that I wanted to immediately. I had to go through all these levels of myself to reach where I am now, which back then was my level 10 self. Now where I'm at, I have a different vision, and it's like expanding, obviously, because the desires grow and the things you want grow, and so you just keep moving forward. But back then I identified, like, I don't remember where I was, but I was like, I'm probably at a level 2, for example. And the level 2 version of me has a clean kitchen at night, can feed herself, can do some mild exercise, and that's just where I'm at. Okay, and as I practiced that and I stretched my capacity a little bit to be able to hold all of those commitments that I made for myself and to do those things, exercise, clean the kitchen, make food, etc., eat food regularly, then it's like I got used to that. Your body gets used to it and it just becomes normal. right? It just becomes something that you do. You don't have to, it's like you work through all the emotional energy around it, or you move through all the resistance. The resistance disappears and dissolves. And when that resistance dissolves, then you feel like you have the capacity for more. It's like your capacity is stretched. So before we end today's episode, let's go through this process together, okay? With the, I call it like the level 1 to level 10 self exercise. I made this up. I don't know what, it doesn't have a real name yet, but let's just call it the level 10 self exercise. Okay. So first things first. So you can pause this, grab a notebook, whatever you need to do this exercise, or just think about it in your head or whatever you need. I'll give you a sec. All right. Okay. So the first step is we are going to connect with your dream life version of you. And you can think about this like in general, like what does your general dream self version of you look like, feel like, act like, whatever. If you're listening to this, you probably already have a pretty good idea. Like I feel like you wouldn't be listening to this if you didn't. But we're going to bring up that vision, okay, that you have. Like where is it that you're trying to go? What does your dream life actually look like? Who are you? How do you act? What are the identities that you hold in your dream reality? Connect to that. That's step 1. Take as much time as you need. Pause this video between steps if you need to. I'm just going to go through it. This is not, if you were in one of my Overflow coaching calls, we would literally pause and do it together, but we're not. So this is a podcast, so you can pause if you need to. So that's step 1. Connect to that vision. Okay, so that vision, that version of you, how they look, how they dress, what they do in their life, their daily routines, their weekly routines, their monthly routines, their habits, whatever, their relationships, that's your level 10 self, okay? So now, like if you're writing on a piece of paper, write down level 1 on one line, level 2 on underneath, then level 3, level 4, like just write all the level 1s to 10 all the way in a vertical row. So levels 1, 2, 3, if you're watching the video, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay? And just write it down in kind of a list looking thing. So we're going to start with level 10. So think of like the version of you that exists in your dream life. What are the things that she's doing in the day-to-day? What are the things that she's doing on a week-to-week basis? These are actions. We're focusing on actions. What are the things she's doing on a month-to-month basis, a quarter-to-quarter basis, a year-to-year basis? You don't have to expand all of that out. You can even just do day-to-day if that makes sense to you right now. As you grow your vision, or as you like start moving closer to your vision, it'll naturally fill out. So wherever you're at, depending on how fleshed out your dream life reality vision is, next to level 10 self, write down everything that she's doing or he's doing. This is a podcast for women, but if there's men watching, whatever he's doing, or if you're non-binary, whatever you're doing. What are the habits? What are the actions? So for example, if I'm talking about like my dream podcast host version of me, I am posting a video every week. I am posting a accompanying Substack blog post. I'm also doing clips. I'm also like podcast clips posted to Reels and TikTok every day. There's like a clip going out every day on my social media accounts. I also have guest speakers on, and I'm hosting other people's expertise on this podcast. I'm making money from this podcast. I'm managing sponsorships, like brands are reaching out to me to sponsor them on my podcast. So let's just leave it at that. I'm sure I could flesh it out more. So that's my level 10 self. That's what my destination is. Every week when I show up to this podcast, that's what I'm moving towards. So now when you see level 9 and level 8 and level 7 and level 6, start to break it down, okay? This can be kind of challenging, but just stick with it and work with it and you'll figure it out. But figure out, like, if that's your level 10 self, what does your level 5 self look like? What does your level 1 self look like? What does your level 8 self look like? And like you can go backwards and kind of just like take things away. So for example, my level 1 self of this podcast was just like posting a podcast a week. Okay, that's just how I was defining it. It's like there's all these things that I eventually want to build up to, but for now, when I started, all I could build up to was 1 episode a week. Okay, so that was my level 1 self. And then my level 2 self was, okay, now we're doing a Substack blog post accompanying each episode. And there's like a written version of all these concepts on Substack now as well, in addition to the 1 video and audio episode a week. Okay, and then that was probably level 2 self. And then level 3, it was, you know what I'm trying to say? Like the numbers are different. Like you don't have to do 1, 2, 3. It can play with it. You know what I'm trying to say here. Level 3 self, like the next level is, it's like you keep adding things, right? So the next level is, now I have the Substack article, and now I can post an accompanying Instagram carousel post where some of like the Substack writing is condensed into like a 10-slide Instagram carousel, so people can like read through it and share it easily on Instagram. So every level you're adding something. So when you're reverse engineering it and you're going from level 10 backwards, you can figure it out by just removing things, removing habits. So then when you're done like really writing it all out and understanding what each level entails, at that point, you can identify where you are right now. What is your capacity right now? So right now, I'm at the level where I can post one of these every week. I can post a Substack every week. I can post the Instagram carousel every week, but I'm not at the level yet where I can post the podcast clips. I don't have that yet. So what I'm going to do between now and when I get there, the way I get to that version of me is I just keep doing what the most I can do right now. Because eventually it's not going to feel that hard for me to do the podcast every week. Like it's just going to become normalized. I'm going to get used to it. So it's not going to take that much energy from me to post this every week or to create the Substack. And it's like once I get to that level where it's normalized and it feels almost easy because I'm so used to it at this point, when I start to feel like I have space to add something more, add another step, then I add the podcast clip step. And until I get to that point, and this is something that you feel, okay? This is something that when you're, it's like it's like you sense that you have more capacity now. You have more space to add something new. This is also like, here's also like the way that this worked for me. So when I launched my podcast, I was doing like a weekly thing. I even started doing clips. If some of you have been following me, you know that I started doing podcast clips. The reason the podcast clips fell off is because after a few weeks of hosting this podcast, I realized that I really connected to this years-long desire that I've had to host a group coaching program. And so the Overflow Method coaching program was born. And so the priorities kind of shifted, okay? So I still have the same capacity level, right? In general, like over for my life. So then I had to fit the Overflow coaching program into my current capacity. And that meant that I had to deprioritize the podcast clips so that I could bring in the weekly group coaching call. So there's past versions of me that would feel like, oh, I fell off. Like I was doing the podcast clips too, and then I fell off. But when I actually think about it and I look into it and I reflect, I didn't fall off. I just deprioritized it because there was something else that was more important, the weekly group call. And the energy, because I'm still honoring my capacity, the energy that I had put to creating these extra podcast clips, I started putting that towards this weekly group coaching call. Okay, and so now where I am at, like that, I want to start doing the podcast clips again, but I'm not going to do it until I feel like I have the spaciousness to do it. I'm not going to do it until it stops feeling genuinely, it's like you measure it also by your discomfort levels, right? So it's like the more that I show up every week for my podcast and I do the Substack and the group coaching and all the stuff that I'm doing, because I get used to it, the discomfort that I feel starts going down because I've because I've become that version of me. Like the discomfort was there to help me become the version of me that I wanted to be. And I'm like, become that version, that next level version of me. And so then the discomfort dissolves. So this is where like, from where I was, like the amount of discomfort that I had when I posted this first podcast episode, and I was like so much more full of self-doubt and does this make sense and blah, blah, blah. Like you might even notice it in how I was speaking, like there's more of an energy of unsureness. Now this is what, episode 8. The more that I did it, it's like I definitely don't have that same level of self-doubt, because from the experiences that I've had, it's like I've built up my, like the more that I did it, the more the discomfort went down. It's like I worked through that. I worked through the self-doubt. I worked through all the things that were coming up back then when I was trying to upload episode 1. And so naturally, as you do the things, the discomfort levels go down. And when the discomfort levels go down, that's when you're ready for more. So, and then when you bring in more, you're basically consciously bringing in new discomforts. Okay, because you're trying to stretch to the next level. So your capacity is essentially your ability to hold discomfort, because it's that discomfort and because you're growing in both directions and both sides of the polarity spectrum. In order to get the good stuff, in order to get what you really want on the positive side of the polarity spectrum, you have to be able to hold the discomfort on the negative side of the polarity spectrum. And so that's why we focus on discomfort, because it's not that we're afraid to have the good stuff. It's not that we're afraid to have money or to have people watching us. We're afraid of like the potential negatives that can come from that. We're scared of the potential judgments that we get from all these extra people watching us and all the hate comments maybe. And, you know, like we have to stretch. We have to stretch in both directions. So I hope that helped you. If you have any questions or comments or anything, or just any clarification, this is a way that I'm also balancing my discomfort of like making sure that people understand what I'm saying. It's just like asking. It's like if you need any clarification on anything, write a comment and I will answer you. Other than that, I would love today to invite you into, I have 2 membership spaces now. I have a membership called the Golden Age Frequency that you all already know about. The Golden Age Frequency is where I drop my personal in the moment insights. Like as I'm experiencing my Golden Age reality, my dream life right now, I share what I'm experiencing, what I'm processing, what I'm going through. It's like the things that I eventually talk about in more structured spaces like this. The ideas and concepts, like the capacity concept came years ago, right? It's a concept that I've been working with for years. So the Golden Age Frequency is like the new things that are coming up now, like in the moment downloads and things that I haven't fully integrated yet, but they're concepts that are coming through and I just want to share them. So that's involved in the Golden Age Frequency, like the new perspectives that I'm implementing into my life to uphold the state of consciousness of the Golden Age Frequency, because the Golden Age is a state of consciousness and not an actual place. Heaven on earth is like, heaven is a state of consciousness, not an actual place. And then in that space as well, I'll share like personal, like I'll really ground it as well in like my personal experiences, things that I'm actually living through that I don't necessarily share publicly, like personal details that of like what my life is looking like right now. So that's in the Golden Age Frequency. And then I have this other membership space that I really refined this week called the VISION Accelerator. And the VISION Accelerator is super fun. I've actually been holding this group for a while, but I really refined it this week. And it's there to help you build out your vision, but in synchronization within the natural cycles. So basically, if you're in the VISION Accelerator, every month you are going to be invited to share intentions and visions, like a vision board for the upcoming month ahead. The purpose of this group is to take control of the steering wheel of your life, like regularly be setting goals and intentions, because if you don't set the goals and intentions, you don't know where you're trying to go. So the more that you're able to aim at specific destinations, the more likely that you're actually able to, the more likely you'll get there, right? So that's what it's like. Every month you'll be prompted by me, and I'm going to share my visions and everything that I'm bringing through this month. and then you'll have the opportunity to share yours. And then we're going to be going by the moon cycles. This is similar to like my Seasons of Flow life planner, if you guys have that, which I'll also leave in the description below. The Seasons of Flow life planner is an alignment guide to help you sync up your ambition with the natural cycles and like the seasons and the moon cycles and your menstrual cycles. So in that same energy, I'm applying that to the Vision Accelerator space, where instead of setting the new visions and everything at the start of the calendar month, I am syncing us up with the moon cycles. So that means that we're going to be vision boarding and goal setting at the new moon. Then when the moon is waxing, which means that it's like growing into like getting closer to full moon, we're going to be focused on the doing. We're going to be talking about the actions that we're taking and what resistance is coming up and how we're dealing with that resistance. And then in week 3, it's the full moon. And the full moon is where the energy is like whole and full. And so at the full moon, we're going to check in again. I'm going to send you prompts at every point, and you're going to check in with your visions, and you're going to pay attention to what's working, what's not working. You're going to readjust, and then we're going to keep moving forward. And then after the full moon comes the waning moon, which is like the moon is getting smaller and smaller, and we're going to the new moon again. That's the end of the month, and this is where I'm going to be sending you prompts to reflect, look back on the month, see what worked, what didn't work, and what insights you gathered, and then we do it all again the next month. So it's like this very fun process of being prompted and also sharing our visions with others, being hyped up by others, feeling accountability. It's like the space that I've created called the Vision Accelerator. It's literally there to help you accelerate your visions and accelerate your dream life. So that link is in the description as well if you'd like to join. Each of these offerings have their designated information pages and sales pages where you can learn all the details about it. So if you're interested, there's more information on those pages. Other than that, I have my Overflow Method coaching program. We're halfway through. We have 4 calls left. The price is now 50% off because of the descending price structure that I have. So if you want to join that, you can join that. And yeah, that's everything. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I hope this was helpful and insightful and all of the things that I intended it to be. And also, I also hold the responsibility if it didn't hit in the way I intended it to hit. That's okay. I accept that. I can't control that. I can just allow myself to express as freely as I desire to and be able to hold whatever comes up from that and hold the responsibility of that and course correct if I need to and whatever, fix my mistakes if I need to. And yes, that's everything. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I love you. Have a great, actually, I don't know. I'm recording this on Friday, so I was going to say have a great weekend, but I might upload this. It might take me a few days to get this published. So have a good week. Let's just say that. That will always apply. Bye.